and Catherine Horton and I have been talking about the death of Hugh Hefner and his implications with pedophilia. It seems like pedophilia is kind of underpinning all of the different things that we look at. I knew this would happen as we get deeper and deeper into the deep state. I knew that the pedophilia undercurrent would be there.
Well, I think in Catherine's analysis of all this, she agrees with you as well, Karen. She says there's a time in which they're going to start attacking each other.
Mm-hmm.
The criminals at the top of this pyramid, you know, they're going to start attacking each other. And maybe we are seeing a little bit of that already. For instance, in the Hugh Hefner case, which I know we haven't had much time to talk about it, but, you know, Hugh Hefner, I guess the story is that he himself was in the middle of a deal where he was going to be revealing the names of some major pedophiles in Hollywood, because he was one himself, so he knew the rest, I suppose. Right? So each one of them.
He's an interesting cat because he was took psychology course in college. Then he went to study with Kinsey. And Kinsey is a major
I missed that entire
corruption. He was a
something.
Kinsey. The Kinsey report. The Kinsey report was a series of studies done by Kinsey, who was a psychopathic pervert.
Oh yes.
So Hefner studied with him.
Okay.
He kind of took the lid off of a lot of society's sexual conventions. I can remember the one thing about his claim was that 10% of the people on the earth were homosexual. And the way he determined that was through a questionnaire. Well, I saw the questionnaire. The questionnaire was so loosely written that anybody could be labeled, almost everybody could be labeled a homosexual, because it was really broad. You know, have you had warm feelings toward a male? If you're a male, have you had, you know, and these kind of, it was kind of an ambiguous thing, and I don't know how, as a psychologist, someone could really make those claims from the type of work that he did. But remember that Kinsey was a Tavistock guy. He was charged with doing this. But anyway, and Hefner, of course, is his lineage. And Hefner was put in to corrupt the baby boomer males, change their sexuality from monogamous to polygamous. He created a new playmate every month. Well, a playmate, what are you doing? You're playing. This is your playmate for this month. Get serious here. So anyway, so he was as deep and dark as you can imagine. And the fact that he
and dirty.
And dirty. And to think that he would even threaten the pedophile network in Hollywood, I think is ridiculous. To my mind, and I can be as wrong as anybody. I'm probably more wrong than most people, because I'll go down rabbit holes other people won't go down. But I think it was this. They want pedophilia to be in your mind. They want it to be. Everybody knows about pedophilia. Everybody. I think they want you to know that Hollywood are all involved in pedophiles, because we made a video about 18 months ago. Then it talked about all the different things that the APA is doing to legitimize pedophilia. They're bringing it out, and
naming it just a disorder, right? Not a problem in society.
Yes, it's a preference. It's a preference. If you might like blondes, or you might like 3-year-olds. It's just.
Oh yes, and there's also some nonsense these days about, I don't know if there's good cases or little snippets of news that I recall about people daring to suggest that 11-year-old boys or 7-year-old girls or 4-year-old girls all gave consent.
Right. Well, there's an age of consent in the U.S., and the age of consent isn't 4. Although there was a motion to, I think it was by the PIE, Pedophile International Exchange, which is a legitimate outfit, still exists in the U.S. It's no, in the UK, and it's still a major lobbying firm or lobbying agency, and they wanted to reduce the age. I think it was to 3, the age of consent. Below 3, they couldn't get. I mean, you couldn't get them to consent.
Yeah, and if that's not real crime, I'd like to know what is. Instead, you've got the local FBI going after outstanding intelligence analysts and outstanding writers and journalists and outstanding particle physicists and so on, and pastors and nurses and everybody else who's, you know, a community-minded, civic-minded, outstanding, accomplished person in society.
We're in the way. If you also, they've done a good job of scrubbing Google in terms of the dangers of pedophilia to the individual. In what they've done is it's very difficult. I wanted to do a report and put some more meaty stuff into this video rather than just testimonials.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to find some studies. Well, the studies now are coming out finding that pedophilia has no real lasting damage, and it's actually good for the child because they're having their first.
Oh my goodness! Unbelievable.
Someone who's
just
loving and older and knows their way around genitals and whatever. But it's coming. The pedophilia is coming, and.
But you see, this is I guess this is why perhaps not next time, because I want to talk about V2K next time, but maybe the time after that we can focus on pedophilia again, especially when Catherine is here, and we can talk about this in detail. Both along the levels of child sexual abuse, child trafficking, and also organ trafficking. Where children are being abused for their bodies and for their body parts around the world, and because this is really a focus on children, who are among the most vulnerable sections of our society, whom we should all be protecting as adults. And for this to be happening, and for this to be at the heart, really, of the entire conspiracy, of the entire attempt, the takeover, the entire world takeover, this is at the heart. Pedophilia and the blackmail surrounding pedophilia and pedocrime, pedosadism and pedophilia. So.
And cannibalism. I think
yes.
Pedophilia might be the.
So we should talk about it. Even though these are such terrible subjects,
It is. I mean, look at the people who are at the top of the pyramid, as far as like the Rockefellers and whoever with the NWO, and they're getting transplants, 4 heart transplants, and they're trying to live forever. And part of that is drinking the blood of children. Yeah. So you're going to have absolute.
Oh, it's a process. It's a huge process that I read about. Right. Yeah. It's a huge process where they sleep with the child for several days before getting the transfer. It's a really disgusting thing.
Oh boy.
It's really horrible, and that's what's happening, I guess. To go back to Hugh Hefner, though, I think that he was going to.
So I can.
Go ahead. I can't think that he wasn't mind controlled also, because I know he's a handler. I know that his playmates, several of them, many of them. Well, the one that they killed, what's her name? Oh God, I can't remember. They took her out because they couldn't get the mind control. She kept slipping out. I can't remember her name, but she died 4 or 5 years ago after having a child to one of the elites.
Oh my!
She had a child to one of the elites, and she had married a man who was 85 years old and died, and she inherited it. Well, the elites wanted the money back. And this woman, Nicole, one of her names is Nicole, Marie Nicole, whatever. Anyway, so she has a child with this elite guy, but she has another child with someone else. Who would inherit the money if she were to die? So they killed the child and her, and the elite child is left. He's bloodline, and he's left in the whole, getting the whole enchilada at some point.
Absolutely.
So they still have control of that money.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to take the
you
whole
have
bunch of them out, really. All of these bloodline families, these Illuminati horrors, someone needs to round them up and throw them in jail for life. No idea who that is.
Unfortunately, they're rounding us up.
Anyway, we know they're destroying the world.
Anyway.
So I wanted to tell you.
Anna Nicole Smith, Cactus Juice came up with
There
it.
you go.
Thank
Okay, Anna Nicole Smith. Yes, I do know. I have heard of her. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She had an older son who died actually before she did.
Yeah,
Very
they took the
sad.
son out, they took her out, and it leaves the. I'll tell you who did research on that was Freeman Fly. If you ever go to his stuff, some of his stuff is he's an interesting character. He was raised by a Freemason, and follows a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
But he feels free to jump into really deep stuff and do some really interesting research.
What's his name again?
I like his name's Freeman Fly, Freeman TV. I won't advocate everybody totally because I don't know who everybody works for, but he has done some amazing discovery in the past. So short of advocating him, he's got some interesting things. He's the one also that did the Barack Obama Akhenaten picture.
Okay. Yes, I have seen that. Impossible to
He's
believe.
done some work as to how. See, they had DNA of these mummies, but they keep them really under tight wraps because you can create a clone from any DNA. That's why supposedly Madonna has a cleanup crew that comes into theaters after she's there to get everything up because they don't want whoever another faction might be replicating. So anyway,
Wow.
So Freeman.
Well, we don't either.
No, God knows we don't.
Good point.
He's a piece of work. We could do a whole interview on that one.
Never replicate the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers, please.
That's
So they'll probably pay me a
It's
visit now
interesting.
that I've said that. I hope not. I'd be happy to live my life without encountering them. Anyway,